Hi there, Doug from BrainGrid. We spend hours and hours writing code, and Agentic and Vibe coding tools are speeding up the velocity of our coding. Founders without any coding experience can use tools like Claude Code to actually build their SaaS themselves. In this video, we're going to walk through Claude Code and the costs of using Claude Code. So you can see here, I'm at Claude, and you can say, I can type and chat here. You can only use Claude Code if you've subscribed to either a Pro or a Max plan. You can see here that I currently have a Pro plan. I'm on the monthly plan, so I'm spending $20 a month. If I did it annually, they'd charge me a year in advance, but they would charge me $17 a month. If you're using Claude Code a lot more, you might look at the Max 5X plan. You have 5X the number of tokens, and it starts at $100 a month. There's a 20X at $200 a month. If you're building with a team, you might look at the team plan. The team plan requires you to have 5 premium seats at $150 each, so $750 a month. The advantage there is you can add and remove developers, and you don't have to worry about them still having access to your MCPs and all of your internal controls. Once they're out of the team, you've removed them from the system. Whereas if they're all on individual plans, you have to go in and manually remove them from all of the systems they had access to. We use Claude Code at BrainGrid to generate parts of our website. Here I've just used Claude Code to generate the header image for the blog post I wrote about Claude Code pricing. But since I've created this image, I don't need all of the context that Claude Code used while creating this image in future queries. So what I can do is use the / command clear. And what that does is it clears the context so that none of the conversation that we had earlier is being used in future conversations. In your Claude settings, you can see how much of your plan usage you've used. And you can see that in my current session, I've used 83% of the tokens allowed in my 5-hour session. So you can see here, it's going to reset in 3.5 hours. And you can see my weekly limit, I'm only 10% in. So I've been using Claude Code a bunch in prepping that blog post. I may have to take a break and finish it tomorrow morning because I'm going to hit my usage limits. Now, if I was in a hurry or it was critical that I got this blog post done this evening, I could turn on the extra usage. What extra usage means is I have set a $20 maximum spending limit. So if I finish off the last 17% of this session, I will get charged at the API rate and spend a little bit extra money to get the coding done right now. And that's really important if you're in the flow or if you need to get something done urgently. You don't want to have to wait 3.5 hours for your plan usage session to reset. So again, you could set this to whatever you feel comfortable with, $20, $100. I'm actually just going to turn it off because I'm not in a rush for this blog post. I can wait until the morning. But should you hit your session limits or your weekly limits, you can just turn on that extra usage in your Claude settings to keep going. If you've been coding a lot, you can use the / command compact. And what that does is it creates a cliff notes. It's a summary of what has occurred in the conversation. And it starts a new conversation with just that summary. So rather than sending thousands and thousands of lines of code and all of the conversation, you're just sending that summary. So you've, taken a cliff notes, you've contracted it down to that little bit, and subsequent conversations will use significantly fewer tokens. Another tool that we think is great for helping developers reduce the number of tokens that they use inside Claude Code is BrainGrid. And BrainGrid is spec-driven development. And so here I've connected FormBricks to my BrainGrid account. And what I did is I had a conversation with BrainGrid and I said, I want to create dark mode for this application. And it went and looked through, it asked me a number of questions about how dark mode should work. and it thought for a long time and came up with a really long and detailed requirements document. And so this is exactly what a product manager would do when creating a feature, right? What are the things that you need in here? How should it work? What should it look like? We come up with what it should look like, how it'll work, how we test for it, and what the acceptance criteria is for that. And then we use BrainGrid to create the prompts, the tasks, and the prompts to generate that code. So one of the problems that I've had with vibe coding is that I will say, hey, do this, and then it's not right. And I have to say, well, actually, I wanted that. And, oh, we need to add this little bit here. And you end up just adding thousands of tokens and thousands of tokens and thousands of tokens over and over and over again. Whereas if you thought out what you wanted to build and you came up with a series of tasks that are very detailed, right? We all know that the more detail and the more accuracy you send into the LLMs and the models, the better results you'll get. And so if you send in prompts that look like this, highly detailed, describing what needs to happen, you're going to get higher quality code out. It's more likely to work. You're going to spend less time dinkering with the AI to get it to work properly. So you're going to use a lot fewer tokens by having the right prompt to begin with. So we're really confident that using BrainGrid will help you code with Claude Code and other AI agents while using a minimum number of tokens, so saving those costs that you have when you're working with agents. Claude Code is a fabulous tool for helping you build. We use it internally here at BrainGrid for a lot of things, including building the website. And we find that it really improves our productivity inside the company. But we've also found the tips that I've described here and in our blog posts that help developers speed up their development while using fewer tokens and then saving costs on their agentic AIs. So hopefully this was interesting. It was helpful to help you understand how to use Claude Code efficiently and effectively, especially while using it with BrainGrid. Thank you for watching.